Hi,
Okay,
I'm not too bad, thank you. How are you?
I'm good.
Thank you for making the time to join me today.
No,
I'm really looking forward to doing this.
me too. Can I just ask, do you want my phone on the side or like
Uh,
portrait?
it's pretty perfect as it is, to be
Okay,
honest. Like, got a good image, so that'll be fine.
okay,
Um,
fab. Just checking.
well, I'll start off with a little bit of an introduction. Obviously, welcome to Dystrophy Diaries, the podcast. I started this podcast with my own personal experiences, really, with muscular dystrophy. And I really have found it a great way of meeting lots of new people from the community and with lots of varying experiences. And I wanted to invite you on, not just from your own personal experience with your family, but also because I think you're making a real important difference in the fashion world. And I really am interested to hear about that. So if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself.
Yeah. So I'm Olivia Ruston and I'm doing a fashion textiles degree at London College of Fashion, and I'm a young carer myself, and I'm very driven in trying to raise awareness for the lack of like clothes for people with different needs.
So I'll start off asking you a bit about your experience as a young carer. Obviously, I kind of met you through your mum and your lovely sister Jess, who I met a long time ago during my journey. But if you want to talk a bit about your experience with your family.
Yeah. So my sister's 16 months younger than me, so I've been a young carer basically my whole life. She's very complex, and it definitely has made me the person I am today. Having a sister like her, and just the way I deal with certain situations and the people I've met and the things I've done has definitely just been because of her, really.
And this might be a bit of a tricky big question to ask, but how has it made you feel kind of having those experiences? I'm sure it's probably been quite varied depending on different situations.
Yeah. It's definitely not easy being a young carer. I'm also the oldest sibling of my family, and I feel like sometimes I tried to be there for everybody and forgot kind of like someone's got to be there for me as well as a kid. But like I just kind of had the like it is what it is sort of mentality and just get on with it. This is my life. I never really, because I never knew any different because I was so young when she was born. You don't really, like, I have no idea what it is really like in a normal household. So, like, I didn't really see a problem with it, or like, it's just life, isn't it? I just always kind of saw it as that. Yeah.
I get that. I think from a different side of it, that's always been my approach because, as you say, like it's your normal, like that's all you know, and the only way you can really approach it in any positive way is just it is what it is. Like you have to kind of you get really good at problem solving and being good in a crisis and handling stress. I think that you probably know those are skills that I think I've found very valuable in life.
Yeah. It's definitely, you don't know what tomorrow is going to bring sort of mentality, whether it's going to be a good day or a really bad one. Like, there's just really no in between. It's just very random, but it's just life, isn't it? And everyone has their own problems.
Absolutely. I think for any other young carers that might come across this episode, what would you like to tell them or any advice you could give or anything?
Just to make sure that you also take care of yourself, even though you're probably already taking care of everybody else. Don't forget about yourself, and just try and learn as much as possible. That's kind of how I did it. Like, if you've got a question to your mum or someone, just ask it. Like, it's really interesting, and later in life, you never know, it might help you with whatever, and just kind of take every experience in your stride and just learn from it and just live.
I think that's a really wonderful approach to have, and you see so many young carers out there that I think they bear a lot on their shoulders, don't they? Because as you say, you feel like you're kind of spreading yourself so thin to so many people, and I think it can be easy to forget to look after you. So I think that's really valuable advice to give from your own experiences. Um, you obviously talked about your fashion journey, and I think that is something that really struck me when we spoke, because as someone who really is into clothes and loves her fashion, I've definitely struggled trying to balance that a bit alongside my health, like I mentioned when we spoke, because of my like pick line and my Mickey button, and even the fact that my arms can be weaker and bent, it can be so hard to find clothes that not only look nice but that feel nice to wear and are accessible. I mean, I love wearing dresses, but they're a bit of a nightmare at times because I can't access any of my tubes or anything. So, what really is inspired your passion, and what like is your journey as a whole? Like, what are you doing now in regards to fashion and designing?
Well, at the moment, I'm writing my dissertation about adaptation for disabled people within clothing. And I've interviewed quite a range of people who need different things, or some people don't need as much as others. Some people that don't get themselves dressed. So I've actually interviewed their carers, because what the carers struggle with is also really important, because it's still going to take time out of that person's morning if the carers are struggling to button up their shirt or stuff like that. I think at the moment I'm just trying to write this piece and kind of hope that people will read it and be like, actually, it's not that difficult to change something a little bit, and it'll benefit so many more people so easily. And I think also I would just want to bring to attention that like disabled people want really stylish clothes. They don't want it to have poppers on the front
No.
because they can access their pick line. Yeah, it's brilliant and it's really helpful, but poppers aren't really that cute.
No.
Like it there needs to be some sort of happy medium where it looks really good and it works really well, and I think it will. I'm really hoping that it will happen.
I think so, and you shining a light on it, I think will get more people in the industry hopefully looking at it and thinking, oh, actually, we hadn't considered that. I mean, just what you said then about interviewing carers, I hadn't even considered that, but you're so right, because it will affect them just as much as it would affect the person. So, after interviewing a variety of people, what do you think you've learned about the type of things that people need, or even that people need very different things?
Yeah, there's definitely a wide range of different things that different people need, which I was expecting, and I was kind of hoping to actually gather that information to show it's not going to be a one size fits all solution here. Like, people need different things, and the industry is big enough to be able to accommodate to all of these different people. If just one brand took on one type of person that I've interviewed, it would be the solution would be solved no problem throughout,
Mm.
like easily. But mostly people struggle with fastenings. Like buttons and things can be really tricky. So I've started to look at like magnet fastenings and things that might be a bit easier like that. Um, like suit trousers for boys too tight around the waist when they're sat in their wheelchairs, and then makes doing the toileting really difficult. Just things like that, like they're not living their most comfortable life because they're trying to be stylish when it needs to come hand in hand, really.
I think it's so frustrating as a young woman that has been very fortunate to have a lot of clothes currently sat in a dressing room, and every morning I'll go and look at them, and I'll just think 90% of this, like, I don't feel well enough to wear. I mean, I struggle a lot with like bloatedness or stomach pain, and it can be so hard to find anything that I want to wear that I also feel nice in. And you know, I don't want to wear sweatpants and joggers every single day. Like, that doesn't make me feel good about myself. And I think, especially over the Christmas period, you almost feel it more because you've been invited to all of these gatherings and everybody's going really dressed up. And like, I remember Christmas Day, we went out for food this year and I'd got all dressed up in like a lovely new dress that I'd bought, and honestly, I felt awful. Like, I didn't really enjoy myself because I was in so much discomfort, pain. It felt too tight when I was sat down. After I ate, it was so restrictive around my stomach, and I just thought, like, and it does put a bit of a negative spin on your outing a bit. And when you like take pictures of it and you put it on Instagram and everybody's like, you look great, it's like, I might look great, but I really didn't feel it. And I think it's just always so hard to have it all and balance it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think once you feel good, your body will also recognize that you're feeling good and you're feeling better. Like, some people will say, like, oh, just because I got out of bed today, I felt better, I felt more like myself. Just getting dressed in the morning, it can just help so much. And if you're getting dressed into comfortable clothes that you feel and look good in, then it's a no-brainer that you're going to want to do that.
I agree. I think it does help motivate you. Like, when you've been unwell and you've not been able to get out of bed, if you're just slipping back into plain pajamas or stuff that you don't feel good in, you just feel like, why bother? Like, and then you're in the cycle of not being motivated to move or to work on your health. Whereas I think when you feel good, you definitely have more determination almost to kind of get your body moving again and recover almost. I do think it all goes hand in hand and all has an effect, definitely.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
if you were sat in a room with a fashion brand, what would you say to them?
I would say, please don't talk to me about this and go and find yourself a panel of disabled people and talk to them.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Like, I hear that so much with people working with accessibility consultants, and half the time they don't speak to anybody that's actually disabled or can actually give you proper input of what works for them. It's
Yeah.
like, I was speaking with someone the other day who had said that a company they'd known had recently had all their disabled toilets redone, but they hadn't consulted anybody with a disability, so they weren't functional for the average disabled person. It's just crazy.
It's just a pointless activity as well, though, because they'll have to redo them at some point. So it's just
Exactly.
a waste of time and money. When if you'd just done it properly in the first place, it would have worked. Like, it's just, yeah, I can't.
I just don't understand, like, why, if you want someone, like, if I wanted to speak to someone who knew a lot about a specific topic, I would purposely find someone who had that experience that could offer something to me. I wouldn't go to someone that's got no lived experience or no knowledge of that area. It just doesn't make any sense to
No,
me.
it's ridiculous. Yeah.
I really hope, I mean, I think we've got so far to go, but I hope we're starting to step into a world where disabled people's input is more valued, and I think people see just how much worth disabled people have, because I think still we're all quite underestimated or judged purely from like a surface level, and like either by mobility aids or speech functionality or anything like that. And I just think you miss out on so much that disabled people can bring. I think some of the disabled people that I've met are just some of the most incredible people I've met, like whether it be the knowledge they have or the determination, their humour, their kindness, their empathy. And it does frustrate me to see them so overlooked so frequently.
Yeah, it is just ridiculous, and it can't, in this day and age, that things like this are still going on. It's just baffling, honestly. Like, yeah, it's
From
a no-brainer.
from your experience, obviously with your sister. I know you get it from a different perspective, but how have you felt about how people have treated her or approached her?
I think I used to get more annoyed. I went through a phase when I was like a teenager when it would really annoy me when kids would stare at her. And then I sort of said to my mum, like, oh, you know, I'm sick of people just looking at her in the street. My mum was like, they just don't understand, though. They're not looking at her. These kids aren't looking at her maliciously. They just don't know what they're looking at, and they're just confused. And I kind of like thought about that for a while, and it's true. Just people are just uneducated, and I think until it comes into play, then no one is gonna ever really understand. But it would just be so easy to put it in a primary school curriculum or something, or just like I think the visibility just needs to be there more, and people won't even need to ask the questions anymore because it'll be in front of them. Like, this is one thing that's really annoyed me doing the fashion research is like the lack of disability models in stores and mannequins and stuff like that. Like, 1 in 4 people in the UK have some sort of disability. So why are we not seeing 1 in 4 models with it? It makes no sense. It doesn't add up. It's just, yeah.
That's something that I've found quite difficult in regard to shopping is whenever you look at magazines or online or anything, there's just not that representation. And not only does it make it difficult when you're purchasing clothes because you think, well, is that going to work for me? But it also just makes you feel really different and really alienated, and it's just not a nice feeling. I mean, as you say, it's 1 in 4 people with some type of disability, and I just don't understand why it's so difficult to include disabled models of different abilities. Because I think the other thing that annoys me is when it's very clearly just a tick box and they've just got one disabled model for like one little campaign and that's it, and it's only like a very small representation, and it's just not that commitment or anybody that's like really taken the time to get to know what it's like for disabled people and their clothes, and it just shows that they're not really that bothered. So it's like, why would I want to buy clothes from a brand that doesn't really care?
Yeah. That they're just using it to be a tick box and look like, oh, we're doing the right thing here. But really, you've stuck the same clothes on them. You've not really, again, looked at the clothes that you're putting on the person and things like that. Is it actually going to be comfortable for them or different things like that?
Like, I think what a lot of these brands don't realize is when you include like everybody, you're more likely to. I mean, it's more profitable because everybody thinks, "Oh, I relate to that. That's a brand I want to support." Like, it makes a lot more sense if you are trying to grow your brand or you just want to remain sustainable and successful. Why are you limiting yourself to a small or just one specific minority or area? If you include everybody, and disabled people, we're very loyal customers because when we find something that works, we go back to it. Like, most of my clothes are from pretty much the same few brands because I know they work, I know they're comfortable, so I'm happy to wear them.
Yeah. And I think that's just something they need to realise, but it wouldn't take much more than a conversation to discover it. So the conversation just needs to happen. Yeah, it's just annoying.
Doing your university course, how have you found the reception to this type of topic, like either with your fellow students or your teachers?
My teachers were really interested, to be honest. They were like, oh, this is actually really cool. Like, not many people really look at this type of topic and stuff like that. And one of my teachers was like pushing me to do it as my final major project and make a collection based on it and stuff like that. Because she was
Wow.
like, you know so much about it. Why would you look elsewhere when you already know? Like, everything to do with it instead of researching a whole nother topic, which I thought, yeah, okay, fair enough, it makes sense. But I wasn't actually the only person to be doing it in my class either. There was another girl that's looking at fabrics more specifically, like sensory wise, that were like comforting or like, you know, different ways that they could like stimulate the brain. So yeah, it seems to be quite popular, really.
I think that's reassuring to hear that it wasn't like quite a taboo thing that people were like, you know, a negative response to it. But I think, would you ever be like in your future, do you think you would like to create your own collection?
I've always kind of thought like, no, I'm going completely different, away from all the medical stuff. I'm going into fashion. Like everyone when I was little would be like, "Oh, you should be a nurse. Like you're so good with your sister." I was like, "No, I'm not doing
No.
it. I've done it all my life. This is it. Like I'm leaving it behind." But honestly, it's frustrated me so much these last few weeks just looking at how easy some of these solutions are and like the things that people need. I have kind of thought a bit more about it, but yeah, I'm not sure yet.
Honestly, I think you would be really great because I think you've got everything that you need. You've got the eye for fashion to make it, you know, stylish that somebody actually wants to wear. But you've also got the knowledge and experience to know what type of different things you need to make it accessible. Because as you say, like there's so many clothes that people will say, oh, well, that works for this disability, and it looks awful. Or, you know, you just feel very clinical and medical. Like you want someone that's actually in tune with the latest trends, what looks good, what doesn't look good. And I think that's what kind of gives you that edge, really, because a lot of people only really have one or the other.
I've always wanted to go into like party wear and party clothes. So I don't see why I couldn't go into that and just cater to everybody instead of being ignorant, as I shouldn't be really. Any after this discovery of things has annoyed me so much. But like I've said, I don't think it's that hard to make things that for everybody instead of it just being either for disabled people or for non-disabled people. Why can they not wear the same things? Like if there's an opening here for someone's line, like just don't open it. Like it's not
Yeah.
really that hard. Like
Oh my gosh, accessible party wear. Oh my god, that would be amazing. I think I'd buy pretty much most of that line, honestly, because that's kind of the main area that I've really struggled with. That really drives me crazy. Because I love glitter, sparkles, like really glam going out wear, and like, oh, it drives me mad. I've got a whole like rail of party dresses that I look at and I'm like, I can't wear that anymore, and it is sad. So no, that would be really groundbreaking. Oh, if you ever do end up doing that, you'll have to let me know because
I will.
I'll buy it all. But
I'll
I
see what I
also,
can do.
but I also think it's natural and understanding that you felt like you wanted to go into something completely different because, like, I never thought I would do anything like this because my whole upbringing was medical, and I thought, no, go away, don't want to know. But it is kind of weird how you get to that point where you think, actually, I've learned so much from it. I can take positives from all of this crapness and make it into something good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tricky. My mum was always on at me when I was younger, like, oh, start a YouTube channel for young carers. And I was like, no one would watch that, mum. Like, nobody would watch that. And kind of looking back, maybe I would have watched somebody else, like, for a bit of support or something. So, you know, maybe it just takes someone to actually do it. But I thought it was so lame.
Honestly, if you'd have told me a year ago that I was doing a podcast, I'd have laughed in your face because I was just like, no, don't like talking about it. Definitely don't want to put it out there for people to see. But I don't know. I think I kind of just look at it as if I was younger at the start of my journey and I had all of these questions, if I could have watched something and seen people kind of come out the other side or learn how to deal with whatever, I think I probably would have got a lot of comfort from it. because it is quite a lonely journey. I mean, you probably have found it quite a lonely journey in other ways, and I think there's just such limited resources out there. I mean, at the time when I was younger, I really didn't want to go to groups or speak to other people. Like, it just felt too, I don't know, it felt too daunting and overwhelming. And I think it can be difficult that sometimes that's the only option. You know, when people need support, it's like, well, yeah, we go to this support group and talk to other people that you don't know, or there isn't really anything. So I think that's why social media now has become such a good thing, because if people want to just watch a video or watch other people's lives living it, I think it gives people more choice.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when I went to my sister's hospice, they had like a sibling support group, and I thought like, oh, I'm far too cool for this,
Yeah,
like, but we turned up and it was like a pizza party or something, and nobody once mentioned the fact that they were a young carer or it was actually bereaved siblings as well. We just didn't talk about it. Everyone just talked about literally anything but that, and I was kind of like, this doesn't feel weird. Like, this just feels like kids talking. And yeah, I've met some of my like closest friends through it, and yeah, it's not weird. Just go and do it.
yeah, I think that's really amazing, because that's what you want. And I think sometimes there is that perception with these groups, or like, oh no, we're gonna just sit and talk in a circle, but that's really not how they are. It's just nice to meet people and get out of that environment for a while.
Mm. And like, no one's gonna look twice if like, oh, my sister comes up and like starts stroking my hair from
Yeah,
behind or needs suctioning. Like, everyone's just kind of like, oh yeah, it's just
I
that,
rem-
like, it's normal.
I remember that with Jess. She always used to love stroking my hair or
Yeah.
pulling on a ponytail.
Oh
That was
yeah.
how I always knew it was Jess.
Or a little lick from behind, maybe.
Yeah, she'd always try and lick my hand. I'd be holding her hand and I'd just feel this lick, and I'd be like, okay.
Get off me now, please.
So before I round this up, I always ask my guests, is there any message they would like to give either about disability or about what they're doing, or a promotional message, it could be anything at all. Is there anything you would like the listeners to know about you?
Probably, if you know a lot about a topic, don't run away from it. Try and use it, because it can be very helpful, and you can probably help a lot of other people with that knowledge. So,
I wish I could have come to that conclusion a lot sooner. Well,
yeah.
honestly, thank you for being such a great guest. I really enjoyed this, because it's encompassed two of my favorite topics, like fashion and like raising awareness. So honestly, thank you.
No, thank you. It was lovely to chat.
And if you ever want people to come across your dissertation or anything, just let me know and I'll link it into this podcast episode so people can keep up with what you're doing.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Well, enjoy the rest of your evening, and hopefully I'll speak to you soon.
Yes, you too. See you soon.
See you.
Bye.